ton of things to cover. So let's kick it off right away with one of your favorite sectors that that's been in the news lately, psychedelics. We've talked about these compounds before, how they can provide the basis of a new class of medicines. And recently, it seems that the momentum in the space has been building. Even last week, there was a study released from NYU that said psychedelics could reduce alcoholism, while a survey from the National Institutes of Health found that psychedelics used among young adults is rapidly rising to record highs. Now, it's been one of your favorite stocks in the space, has been soaring, So ultimately, with psychedelics in the news, with the stock soaring, how do you feel about psychedelics right now?
Very bullish, Aaron. Very, very bullish. We've talked about kind of my favorite investment themes for 2023 or over the next 12 months, and psychedelics is one of them. That's because there is a lot of momentum building in the space, both from a news perspective and a science perspective. So you have to understand, I think there are two things that need to happen in order for psychedelics to really take off as their own category of medicine, which I believe is going to happen. One, you need mainstream consumer destigmatization. So for 50 years, these drugs, psychedelics, MDMA, LSD, magic mushrooms, that active ingredient psilocybin, obviously, those drugs have been viewed by consumers, by the mainstream media, as taboo, as bad, as only hippies and drug addicts do that stuff. So there's been a very negative stigma attached with those drugs. In order for a new class of medicines to actually have an impact and be used, adopted by consumers, by doctors, you need that destigmatization to accelerate, to become widespread, to where the point, this happened with marijuana. There was a point in time where marijuana was viewed as very taboo, very, only druggies did it, so on and so forth. But we're at a point now where marijuana is almost commonplace. Actually, I believe that survey you just mentioned from the National Institutes of Health, it's a Monitoring the Future survey. And what they do is they survey a bunch of young adults, high school kids, college kids, just out of college kids, and they survey them on their self-reported drug and alcohol consumption habits and the frequency of consumption. That survey found for the first time ever that smoking marijuana is more prevalent among all those age groups than smoking a cigarette. So
yep, I saw the same poll.
Marijuana has become very destigmatized, and it became destigmatized through movies, through pop culture. Really, there was a series of movies and songs and celebrities that basically were saying, you know what, weeds, it's a fun drug. It's not a bad drug. It's a fun drug, and it became a fun drug. And now, it's not, doesn't have a negative stigma attached to it anymore. I think psychedelics are undergoing that renaissance right now. For marijuana, that happened in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I believe psychedelics started in the late 2010s and continuing into the early 2020s. We've seen a couple Netflix documentaries about it. We've seen a couple books about it. We've seen some big pieces in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal about it. So the destigmatization side of things is really progressing very favorably for psychedelics. And that's progressing favorably for psychedelics as we go into 2023, which is going to be a big year for the science side of psychedelics. Because the leading company in this space, company by the name of Compass Pathways, we talked about them before, they're going to start phase 3 trials for their leading psychedelic-inspired treatment, something called COMP360, which leverages psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, to treat TRD, treatment-resistant depression. It's done very well in clinical trials to date, phase 1 and phase 2. Now it's going into phase 3. Those start in the fourth quarter of this year, meaning throughout 2023, we're probably going to get several data readouts from Compass Pathways saying either COMP360 is working really well or COMP360 is not working really well. The overwhelming bulk of data suggests that COMP360 is going to do very well in phase 3 trials. You reported that this is not related to TRD, but psilocybin was the active ingredient used in that study you talked about with alcoholism. Something about an 86% reduction in heavy alcohol use through the use of psilocybin. So there's a lot of data out there that shows that psilocybin is kind of this miracle drug that can treat a lot of different things. So chances are high that throughout 2023, Compass Pathways is going to give us very positive data readouts for the progression of phase 3 trials of COMP360. That favorable progress on the science side, coupled with continued favorable progress on the destigmatization side, I think sets the stage for psychedelic stocks to do very well next year. Not to mention, next year, you're also probably going to get on the macro front, falling inflation. The Fed is probably going to pivot at some point in 23, not in 22, but at some point in 23. So the macro environment is going to shift. You're going to be coming out of a big sell-off. I think 2023, 2024 are shaping up to be very monumental years for the psychedelics industry, fundamentally speaking, and for psychedelic stocks, technically speaking. So I'm very bullish on what's going on there. Compass Pathways has been breaking out in a very, very, very impressive manner. And I think that on any pullback, you're going to want to load up on that stock. I mean, the stock is what, like 15, 16, 17 bucks right now. The average price target from Wall Street is like 100, 105. And that's, from Wall Street, you never see a five-fold increase in the price target, six-fold, seven-fold increase in the price target. That's pretty remarkable. And it speaks to the underlying economic potential of psychedelics as a treatment. So I'm very excited about the space, and I really like what I'm seeing in the space right now. And so long as these trends continue, destigmatization, good science, so long as those two things continue, I think these stocks, rising tide lifts all boats type scenario. But favorite play in the space definitely Compass Pathways. CMPS is the ticker.
Thanks for watching HGI Clips. For the full episode, head on over to our sister channel at Hypergrowth Investing by clicking the link in the description or listen to the podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms. We make new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to check it out and subscribe to never miss any of Luke's Hypergrowth insights.